Hello and welcome to this fairly brief broadcast. I often get requests from college students in regards to term papers, essays and end-of-year exams. They look for someone to interview regarding subject matter, and I'm always willing to oblige. It's good karma for me and it helps the students with their education. Today we're joined with David from a Washington college who would like to discuss the application of masks. Joining me is David from the Montgomery College. He has questions regarding the application of masks. Thanks for joining me, David. So, fire away.
All right, the first question I had is, let's see, question. Did you don't like to wear masks? Now, that's on your own choice or that's on someone influenced you?
That's a good question. David, I'm always dubious when it comes to the government and their demands. That's why I do my own research. And that led me to discovering a lot of negative health consequences that can emerge from wearing masks. I've also witnessed medical emergencies. And this has led me to making this decision ultimately not to wear masks.
Medical research, and what is the medical research proven the problem with wearing masks?
Wearing a mask deprives the body's cells of oxygen, which can have very devastating consequences such as heart attacks, strokes, seizures, and other medical complications, which I have witnessed. People collapsing, respiratory issues, and a lot of other medical consequences that can emerge from this. So it is wise for people to do their own research and not just believe everything they're told from the mainstream media.
I don't know how passionate about it. If someone would ask you to wear a mask, would you take it as an insult?
It is offensive when they don't know the health complications that can come from wearing masks, and then requesting someone to wear one is very irresponsible. So it's insulting and it's not logical.
So I'm a little confused. They insult you because they don't know. You get offended because they don't have enough reasoning to explain to you.
Exactly. They're following orders, complying with tyranny, and then that's passed on to the consumer, regardless of the consequences that might emerge from that.
All right, fine. Enough info on the topic. All right. Now, would you consider protesting or would you keep it? Obviously, everyone has their own opinion. I mean, I have no opinion on anything. I'll be honest. I think society would be better if everyone was equal. That's my personal political statement. So, when there's a gathering, would you personally promote a public gathering anti-masks, or you just tell people personally?
I would take any measure necessary to ensure the safety of others and prevent the widespread tyranny that we're witnessing now. I have attended protests. I have conducted many interviews on the topic, made several videos. I've broadcasted this. I've mentioned it to people in person. I have attended testing facilities and gone to numerous lengths to ensure that people are well aware of the consequences that are attached with the application of masks, as I feel it's everybody's duty to provide that information and look after others as well. We have a duty of care, and it sort of ties in with the previous question. If somebody was requesting you to wear a mask, it's very irresponsible when they haven't done enough research to back up why they are making those demands. So yes, I have campaigned, very active in getting the information out about the dangers attached with masks.
Someone pointed out to me that someone said something that was it's my body, let me use it. You'll probably think that that's inaccurate. That's probably what comes to you when you think of someone tells you to put a mask on. It's my
Exactly.
body. It's not your body. Okay. Yeah.
100%, yes, that's sovereign. It's up to the individual to make their own choices and accept what comes from that.
Okay. Now, I know there are many different types of masks that come up there. It's any face covering, or is it specifically a mask? This is kind of a stupid question. I feel
No,
like I think I should have erased this one.
there's no stupid questions. Many of the masks are actually ineffective in preventing the transmission of a virus. So I have a strong stance when it comes to this. Unless you're wearing an oxygen respirator, which isn't even necessary, nothing like this is practical to be wearing masks. And they've even taken it one step further here where they've banned face shields because that prevents people from being pepper sprayed. So you can obviously see it's clearly not geared towards the best interests of people's health and well-being. It's widespread tyranny, and there's a lot of information to substantiate that as well.
Do you know, like, if you would see a person in the street, would you know, like, if they're, would you know, like, they're like not that they're gonna not wear a mask, or they just forgot one? I want to know if you could identify, if you could identify people of the same opinion. Would you be able? Do you have that ability?
Well, it's not up to me to make a character assumption on people as to how they're going about their day, unless my proximity and my boundaries are breached. Then I would bring that to their attention and I would state my opinion when it comes to masks. But if people choose to wear one, that's on their own volition. They can certainly go right ahead. We see a lot of people driving motor vehicles by themselves wearing masks.
Does a fine, I don't know if I know when there are certain place in us, if you don't wear a mask, you can't like do half of, you can't go to a grocery store, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to the doctor, you can't do anything. I want to know, do you have that like fear that you're not going to be able to do any of these other, do you have fear of these limitations?
Now you can walk around outdoors in public without a mask, and certain other areas as well, as long as you're maintaining a safe distance. It is still encouraged in a lot of shopping centres. Some still will prevent you from entering, but they have certainly taken off a lot of the pressure when it comes to that. But we are still far from out of the danger zone yet. Many people are still complying with these rules and restrictions.
Could you make a connection between, what's your opinion, like, do you think that just like the masks wouldn't do effect, that the same would apply with the vaccine, or you think the vaccine's you would classify the vaccine as a whole different category?
See, that's very interesting. Now, vaccination, that's a very controversial subject. We have a flu vaccine that has been around for 70 years, and that still isn't effective when it comes to preventing the spread of influenza. And now they're rushing through a COVID shot in a year's time, and they're saying that this is safe for people. No, there is disastrous consequences once again that are attached with this, as it states in the manufacturer's inserts. When you look at it, and this whole COVID has a 99% survival rate, it's really not ethical, logical, or practical to be implementing such measures that are having devastating consequences on people's lives and well-being. If a person feels that they want to take precautions, then it's up to the individual. This should not be mandated, pushed, or threatened.
How did that, never put those two together? That's a smart analogy. I never thought, if you know that if everyone can survive it, you wouldn't theoretically need a vaccine. I guess maybe for those people I guess even with flu, theoretically, if we all survive, if none of us were affected by the flu, why would we not need a vaccine? I think that the vaccine we have now is for the people who can't heal themselves with the flu, and they need that extra boost to help them out. So I guess the same would be with. I like their approach with COVID also. It's like, because you said that everyone could really recover for it. If
Yes.
everyone's going to recover it, you won't really need a vaccine. It doesn't,
Absolutely.
and especially even the fact that it shouldn't be enforced, a vaccine. Even a person should be able to have the choice of it and not have the choice to take it.
Exactly, and there's so much corruption surrounding the test results. We see a lot of people that have pneumonia and the common flu being labelled as corona. So when it comes down to how this is being handled, it seems like this is a criminal operation that's taking place. So it is very critical that one do their own research when it comes to their own health and well-being and the strategies that they're willing to take. You look at some of the best medicines: herbs, vitamins, plants, minerals, a healthy diet and exercise. That's what boosts the immune system.
Okay, we know. So with in this pandemic, there are two really regulations. You have, one is masks, one is social distancing. You gave your reasons why you wouldn't wear masks. Are those the similar reasons why you wouldn't want to perform social distancing, or that's because of the masks? Let me phrase it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make an inference that you're not big into social distancing. Now, the reason you're not big into social distancing, is it mask related, or is it related or you have another reason behind it?
Well, that's interesting with the social distancing. When you look at the whole thing, once again, you do your investigative research, you realise that the methods are put in place, they're not designed to help people. I don't believe that it's absolutely necessary for people to be social distancing whatsoever. I think it's just another form of tyranny as well that they're rolling out, and that's going to bankrupt small businesses because they have a capacity on how many people they can have in their shops. So it's just another way to break down the small businesses.
Well, interesting. It's like it's true. It does. You're right about that. With social distancing, you can only have a certain amount of people and certain amount of businesses. It is a downside. It is a downside. By having so distance, you're not going to get as much people as a result. But by having everyone together, you can have more. You'll be able to increase sales.
Absolutely.
Now,
and by social distancing, it creates financial ruin for people, and it sends them into economic despair. So we're witnessing that now.
Well, would you say that social distancing is another form of just like personal space, or you can't put the two together? Because I think it's more of just establishing personal space between each other, just being a little bit more cautious.
Just out of respect, it's good to stay out of people's personal space, but when it comes down to social distancing, I don't believe it's required, and it's just another method of tyranny that's being imposed on the public.
We didn't really talk this one. I know we talked who's in charge, who's not in charge, but what is the fine if a person gets caught in Australia or your area without wearing a mask? I don't see it happen. My area is so rural, like nothing happens in it. The last time we were in the news was like 6 years ago. My city. So I want to know, in your city, like, if someone doesn't wear a mask, what's the fine for it, if there is a fine?
Well, that's a good question. See, a lot of these fines are unlawful and unconstitutional, and they're being dismissed in court through class actions and other legal endeavours. So it's wise not to fall into the fear packets that are being served in relation to fines. That's another way to break people down and make them comply with the tyranny.
Sorry about that. Like but you don't think that any fine is like? I think the reason that a person has a fine is that to scare the person not to do it. I once captured a fox, and I wanted to keep it, and then I found out there's a fine $1,000 if I'm caught in public position for it. It's not the fact that that it was a fine; it's the fact that I just didn't want to pay $1,000.
Well, see, directives aren't law. So if there's no legislation backing it, then it's an unlawful request and demand in the first place.
I know these are all Well, the information you've given me, which is actually very useful.
Thank you.
Now, would you like publicize would you like keep it to your, I might have answered this and might have not, double check. Would you keep your information to yourself? Actually, no, I did answer this one.
I'm very vocal. We Are Change Melbourne, running an independent media organisation. I'm constantly broadcasting the dangers associated with masks.
Melbourne. This is you guys are like Revolution, which now your revolutions. This is Revolution that only existed during COVID, or it's a revolution that you've had for like everything?
This has been going on since back in the days of 9/11. We Are Change was started. I've been running this for several years over here in Australia. So no, there's many different campaigns, protests, talk shows on a whole variety of subjects. Sadly, the tyranny feels endless at times.
Everything you've said, this group you're talking about now, We Are Changing Melbourne. I get your point. Now, is it men and women, or is it just men? Because I know I've gotten some viewpoints of how the COVID has worked with women. Some things they've said are similar, some things are different. I want to know if the women in this group, if they have an input that's quasi different than what your input would be. Is there a gender? Let me make it simpler. Is there a gender difference with all the members of your group?
Well, in the truth community here in Australia, we have men and women working together and fighting against the tyranny and working together to restore freedom for everybody. So it's wonderful in that regard. The people that are informed and awake to the attacks that we're under have worked together, and that's been very successful. And hopefully that continues in the future.
So Australia is very big. Now, do you have people that are only in Melbourne, or do you get contact from people from Sydney, or I don't know, I don't really know Australia, or you guys specifically in Melbourne?
We just had a freedom rally, and that was held in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, and Brisbane as well. So it's definitely happening nationwide. People are standing up, working together, trying to overcome this madness that we're being faced with.
Very fascinating. You've given me a lot of good information. I think answered that. That's all I think I have for the moment. Thank you very much, Jeff. I did not know that you really gave me a lot of insights. Thank you very much for your time. This was very useful. And I'll be honest, thank you for actually reaching out to me. So many people, I've tried hours just trying. Very few people have actually reached out for me. So I admire that. Is there a way you could send me this video? Or
I certainly will. I'll send all that information through to you. I wish you all the best with your test results. Hopefully you get straight A's.
Thank you. And I'll let you know how the review goes. Thank you for your time. If I have any other questions, I'll message you. This was very nice meeting you. And most important, I just got this webcam, so I'm glad I got to be able to even test it out.
Okay, Merry Christmas and all the best with everything there, David. Thank you for reaching out to me.